Yo, what is up? We are back again. Pavy Daily Takes. You know, almost Turkey Day. We're a week away, which is exciting. I will be going out of town back to Chicago, which is why I want to talk about what I want to talk about today. One, every time I go back home, I like to go catch a Bulls game. Just to go, even though I find the United Center to be the worst stadium I've ever been to in my life. Not ever been to in my life, but worst professional basketball stadium I've been to. Like the entire stadium doesn't have cup holders. Like you think I'm playing, but the entire stadium has no cup holders. But the Bulls had a nationally televised game last night. They played the Bucks. They ended up losing by like 20 points, but it was a time in the game in which it was like a pretty, like close game. And I'm just sitting there watching this and I'm like, I wish the Bulls would just like stop and like quit. It's just like, what are we doing, bro? Like, what are we doing? Management consistently does this thing where like they never want to fully rebuild. But they're not rebuilding because they actually have a chance to do anything significant. They're not rebuilding because they want to make the play in and just wallow around an area where like they're decent, but they're not actually like really good, but they're not really bad. When they let DeMar go and they traded Caruso, they made some of these moves in the offseason. I was like, okay, finally the Bulls are rebuilding. Then they proceeded to not rebuild. You kept Vooch. You kept Kobe White. Obviously, getting rid of Zach LaVine may be a little bit difficult because of his contract. I don't know if people want to trade for that contract. But it's just time for the Bulls to rebuild. And, I think some of the managerial decisions that the Bulls make sometimes, historically, I think fans have, kind of trashed them. And some of them aren't their fault, right? So, going back, we'll take it back 10, 15 years. D Rose ever, right? You get lucky, get the number one pick, you pick up Derrick Rose. He becomes MVP. You sign him to a deal. Then he gets hurt, tears his ACL, and he literally is missing. Like the first year on his new deal, on his new max deal, he missed because he had the ACL injury. So that whole era, it is what it is. It kind of ran its course. Guys get older, guys get hurt. Cool, whatever, boom. All right. You trade Derrick Rose. You get Joakim Noah out of there. All right, so let's build around Jimmy Butler. Cool. You bring Jimmy in, Jimmy's whatever, he's doing this thing. Then when it's probably time, if I have my timeline correct, actually I think it might have been they traded D Rose and then they went 41-41, or they traded D Rose and then they brought in D Wade and Rondo, which the D Wade Rondo squad, they would have made the second round against Boston if Rondo didn't break his hand. But still, you bring in D Wade, you bring in Rondo, patch a band-aid on everything, you become the 8th seed again. Okay, cool. Then in the offseason, you decide, let D Wade go. You trade Jimmy Butler. You do the right thing. You do what you should do. You actually go and rebuild. You rebuild. Cool. Then midway through, Zach LaVine's early era, he's doing his thing. This is when I thought Zach LaVine and Devin Booker were actually on like the same level. I mean, if you look at what he was doing, he was giving you about like what 25 a night on basically like 50-40 percentages. So it was going good. Then you make the trade for Vooch, right? You make the trade for Vooch, and in retrospect, I don't want to say you wouldn't make the trade for Vooch, but I think you would. I think, I don't know if it worked out the way you would have hoped it worked out, but a lot of things, the reasons why it didn't work out aren't necessarily Vucevic's fault, and more so misfortune. You trade 2 first-round picks. You trade Wendell Carter and 2 future first-round picks. One of the picks, if I'm not mistaken, becomes Franz Wagner. So you bring in DeMar, Lonzo, you have Caruso, that whole squad, when they were number one in the East for like 2 weeks, and DeMar was an MVP candidate for like a week. Lonzo gets hurt. And basically it kind of goes to shit. But again, you continue to put band-aids on it, put band-aids on it, put band-aids on it, put band-aids on it, and you don't tear it completely down. The Bulls need to tear it completely down. Trade Kobe, Do the best to get Zach LaVine out of there. I know you probably not gonna get much for him. Maybe you might get, a bad contract and like a second round pick, but do your best to get him out of there. Get Vucevic out of there because it's like, bro, what are we doing? We're continuing to patch band-aids over something that's 100% at this point not gonna work. Um, and I think the fan base deserves better. And I've had this argument with friends forever. I think people get it confused because of the 90s, that they think the Bulls are just some like model historic NBA franchise. And like, no, they had a decade. They got blessed with drafting one of the greatest basketball players of all time. The greatest, one of the greatest, whatever of all time, in Michael Jordan. And they had a great decade. But historically, the Bulls have pretty much been a poverty franchise. I mean, in the early 70s, they had the Chet Walker, Bob Love, RP Bob Love, too. I saw he passed away recently. RP Bob Love, Jerry Sloan, like that whole squad that was good for like 2-3 years. Then they were terrible until Michael Jordan came along. Michael Jordan leaves. They go back to being terrible. They have a decent little run in the late 2000s when they eliminated the Miami Heat, made the playoffs a few times. Then again, D Rose comes in. You have actual championship aspirations. Then you go back to being mid for basically the better part of a decade. So just when I was watching that game, like I said yesterday, man, I was just sitting there and I was just watching. I'm like, yo, come on, man. The Bulls need to break it down, let it go. Do what the other model franchises, well, the franchises who have done rebuilding better than what you have done. The Oklahoma City Thunder. You get Russ out of there. You get PG out of there. You trade all your guys. And what, in less than 4 years, pretty much, you're in one of the best situations in the NBA, if not the best situation in the NBA. The Raptors, after this season, again, they're gonna be pretty much bad this season. They're probably gonna get a top 5 pick, and you've accelerated your rebuilding. You may be good within 2 years. You may be a team that actually has actual championship aspirations again, but you can't do the thing in which you consistently just put band-aids on mediocre teams, and you play for the play-in. But again, I mean, some of it ownership. Look at the White Sox. They got the same owner. The White Sox just had the worst season in the history of baseball. This is the same people who owns the Bulls. Well, in modern history of baseball, this is the same person who owns the Bulls. And the thing about the Bulls is they could literally go 0-82 for the rest of forever and will still be profitable because they will live off the 90s literally forever. They will sell Michael Jordan jerseys for the rest of eternity so they can be mediocre and still make money. And they're always still like top 10 in attendance. Every time you go to the games, the stadium damn near full. The Madhouse on Madison is full. So, it kind of doesn't matter. But at the same time, man, you just want the city to have a quality basketball team, because I think the NBA is better when you have teams like the Lakers and the Bulls and the Knicks good at basketball. The league is better, and Chicago was just such a basketball town, and they love their team. They love their sports in general, but they definitely love their basketball because it is such a basketball town. So I just want the Bulls to get it together. I'm not the biggest Bulls fan, but just watching that game yesterday was like, yo, what are we doing, bro? Like, why is Kobe still here? Why is Zach still here? Why is Vuk still here? You have really nice guys who could help other squads out. Like Kobe could definitely help a squad out. Vooch could help somebody out. I don't know who needs a big man, but come get him. You know what I'm saying? And just putting all these pieces together and keeping them here to be a play-in team and get sacrificed by Boston or somebody in the first round. It's just like, it's pointless to me. But again, we'll see what the Bulls do. They could end up around the trade deadline. We could be, doing an episode, and they broke it all down, and everybody is gone. But I don't foresee that being a thing that happens. I foresee them again putting more band-aids over stuff that doesn't work, and they go out there and win 41 games. Make the play-in, either lose in the play-in and get a late lottery pick, or actually make the playoffs and, like I said, get sacrificed by a team like Boston, and we just continue this cycle of mediocrity for the next however long. But like I said, it's been Pavy that he takes. Don't want to make these long. I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all day. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll figure out the schedule for next week because, like I said, I will be back home in Chicago. So we'll figure that out. But as always, man, Pablo Daily Takes has been real. I'll holla at y'all.